So some people may have heard the news that Fleet passed away yesterday. So unfortunately, over the last probably month to month and a half, we've been battling with infections in Fleet. And from the beginning, we knew that infection was his biggest battle. When he came in, he had a badly infected foot. We knew that he had pellets deeply embedded in other parts of his body that at the time were posing no risk to him, so were left where they were. His foot over time, after a lot of antibiotic therapy and debriding, did heal up, but unfortunately he started to develop some discharge coming out of his nose, and unfortunately the pellet that was lodged in his skull, in his nasal cavity, was causing a major problem. So despite strong antibiotic therapy for the last few weeks, aggressive other treatment therapies tried, the only option we really had to look at saving Fleet's life was to do a CT scan, ascertain exactly where that bullet was placed and try and remove it. The bacteria that he had associated with that infection was highly resistant to any of the antibiotics that we were treating him with, and unfortunately the only other option was to be opening up his nasal cavity and removing that pellet in the hope that it would heal up the infection. Unfortunately, associated with chronic infections like that, the immune system can be compromised and the animal is fighting this infection on their own when antibiotics aren't helping. So they often lose body condition and they become what we would say is semi-compromised patients. So going into surgery, there's always an anaesthetic risk, even if we have a healthy patient, but to have one that's compromised and under chronic infection like that, the risk is always a little higher, and unfortunately in Fleet's situation it led to his demise. It's a really delicate area around the skull and the nasal passage, and you don't want to go delving into that sort of surgery unless it's absolutely necessary and it's the last resort, and that was where we're at with this infection. So
yeah, but he was such a little fighter, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was a beautiful koala. I mean, he had his own personality. He was an incredible fighter, and I mean we all got very, very attached to him. He was in here for close to 3 months. And we were battling every day with these infections that he had. And at one stage things were looking hopeful, but unfortunately when bullets and foreign bodies are involved in delicate places of the body, an infection sets in, it can be very hard to control that.
Can you been hard on everyone here at the zoo, and especially the hospital?
Yeah, very, very hard, on all the vets and nurses. We spend 24 hours a day with these patients, and everyone invests a lot of themselves into these animals, so losing them is, similar to losing, a pet that you've had. It can be very, very emotionally taxing. It makes me extremely angry to think that the reason this koala came into us is because he'd been shot. No other reason at all. He hadn't been traumatised by a car, he wasn't diseased. He was otherwise a healthy koala that had been targeted in a malicious act.